brigar. Foi o negro inventando. Vem ligar quem é brasileiro e não tem um pouco de malandro, malandragem. É malandro, capoeira. É malandro, na Bahia. É malandro, na ladeira. É malandragem.
Greetings, this is Professor Jahsun of Os Melanges de Mestre Toro. I'm working for William Grant Still Center. This is African Martial Arts, Lesson 6. So this week, we're going to be discussing a very important area in this unpacking of African spirituality and African martial arts. We're going to talk about the Republic of Benin, also known as Dahomey. So when we think of this region of Dahomey, I want to show you this area is so very important because many of our African ancestors came from this region and arrived in Brazil, in North America, in Haiti, in Cuba, all of these things. And interestingly enough, the spiritual tradition, the national spiritual tradition of the Republic of Benin is called Voodoo. And when we think of this area that we see on the map that says Dahomey Kingdom, and you see that area that says Benin that is blue, interestingly enough, the area known as Dahomey is now known as Benin. Interestingly enough, as we think about Dahomey, this is a place where our African ancestors did plenty of fighting in order to find their liberation. So I want to talk a little bit about this incredible woman. Her name is Sadong Hongbe, and she is a member of the Ahosi or Mino. Ahosi is basically a word that means enfant, the wives of the king, and Mino is my mother's. Both of these are names that reference the same group, and they were basically the warrior class, the female warrior class of the Dahomey region. And they fought not only for their own liberation, they fought for many different reasons. Interestingly enough, as many of these women were brought into enslavement and brought into the areas as I described, Brazil, Cuba, Haiti. As they arrived in these places, they did not relinquish their warrior traits. It is said that in the area of Haiti, that I believe it was Toussaint Louverture, his aunt, it had to be his aunt, was once a Hosi Mino warrior. And she actually taught him the martial art of the women. And that is what helped Toussaint to fight and strategize against the French, who were oppressing African people and indigenous people in Haiti, and also utilizing our ancient African spiritual tradition known as Voodoo. Voodoo actually is a word that comes from, it is a phone word that comes from the Dahomey region. And many times our African spiritual traditions get such a horrible, horrible, bad rap. We hear so many negative things about them from the dominant group, and all of these things are actually false. Voodoo is a beautiful tradition, and it is a tradition of being connected with your ancestors, being connected with nature, and finding various cures for the things that ail us. So this aspect of Voodoo that the dominant society has presented to us is far different from the reality of what voodoo, what palo mayombe, what santeria, candomblé, what they actually are. So with that, let's talk about the capoeira movement known as Rasteira. Rasteira is basically sweeping of the foot. My mestre Preto Velho, he says, he who understands Rasteira understands capoeira. This is so important because Rasteira, as we know about various martial arts movements, the sweeping of the foot is such an intriguing and tricky movement because the whole idea is to make your opponent think that you are going to do something totally different. And in the Rasteira, that is that secret aspect of capoeira, the ability to deceive your enemy, to make them think that you're something that you're not until the very moment of surprise. So Rasteira is a very powerful technical movement that we utilize to not only I won't say destroy, what I will say is deconstruct our attack of the enemy or the attack of the enemy. So this week, as I said, we will be doing Rasteira. And make sure you try this movement very slowly because it works very good as a stretch, but it is also a very effective counter attack. Thank you once again. This is Professor Jahsun. This is the movement of Rasteira. This is to sweep the foot. Notice that the foot is flush on the ground, and when we sweep, you don't sweep the ground above the ground, you sweep the ground. So the mechanics of this movement are as follows: evade, extend, and as you can see, my front leg is pointing completely in the opposite direction. The knee is pointing in completely in the opposite direction, like that. That's where you get your power for your Rasteira, right there. Slowly, Rasteira, you see that?